Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and I've been particularly curious about the Kawasaki KLX230 over the last few years because you see this bike pop up often on dealership lots and dealership websites, maybe a year or two past the current model year, and they're remarkably inexpensive. You can often find these marked down for $1,000. So you're looking at before tax, title, and fees, something like a $3,500 price tag for a motorcycle that's entirely street legal, capable of on-road and off-road shenanigans, and can do highway speeds, all while coming with ABS. I was like, what's the catch? And after spending a few months with it, I can tell you there is no catch. This, to me, is one of the bargains in motorcycling right now. So I asked Kawasaki if I could spend some time with one, and specifically, I asked for the S model. So the KLX230 lineup can get a little bit confusing because not only is there the KLX230 and then this KLX230S, which is about an inch shorter in seat height and smaller suspension and everything, a little bit easier to ride for shorter people. But then there's also the KLX230R and 230RS, which are the dirt bike versions of this bike. So they're lighter, they don't have a headlight and turn signals and street legal modifications to them, but it's essentially the same motor and same chassis. So this one, like I said, is the 230S. As you're looking at it, about $4,700 equipped with anti-lock braking, which can be disabled for the rear via this button. A lot of other brands could take note of how easy it is to disable the ABS on this bike. And it's an air-cooled 233cc single-cylinder motor that only makes about 17 horsepower. This is by no means a fast motorcycle. But as you're looking at it here in California spec, about 293 pounds wet and ready to ride, what it results in is a motorcycling experience that is fun on the road, fun in the dirt, fun if you're a beginner rider, fun if you're an advanced rider, and fun even if you don't get to go out and ride that often. And all of those elements together are why I would probably put the KLX 230, not the S version, the full 230, as one of my top motorcycles to purchase if I were going to go out and buy a motorcycle today. Because for me, I don't get to ride as much as I'd like to, and I bet a lot of you watching are spending more time researching bikes, watching videos about bikes, and thinking about biking than actually riding. Now, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of people who put thousands of miles on their motorcycles each year, and kudos. I respect and appreciate and desire to do that. But the truth of the matter is a lot of us have lives that interfere with riding, and when we get the chance to go out, it might just be for a quick ride, it might be for a situation that's not as ideal as we'd like it to be, maybe it's with friends, maybe it's alone. And what I like about the 230 is that it would allow me to do so many different types of riding and have fun doing it, while also not making me feel bad if this bike sits in the garage for a few months without getting ridden. So today we're going to go for a little bit of a ride. I'm going to try to intersperse some dirt footage as well. Definitely not around here, but I think tomorrow I'm going to try to go out and do a little bit of dirt riding. Even my shortened time with this bike is reflective of how my real life is with motorcycling. I really wanted and expected to go out and do more dirt riding adventures with this motorcycle while I had it, and life simply got in the way. All the way to the point where I am actually expecting the birth of our first daughter coming up here in April. So I'm shooting this in the beginning of January. So in 3 months, we're going to have a baby girl, if all things go smoothly. And as much as you can try to make motorcycling safe, it is an inherently dangerous activity. So even with wearing my airbag vest, even with riding a bike with ABS, which are two things that can greatly reduce my chance of serious injury or death, I will likely be moving away from street motorcycles for a number of years. Mostly just enough time to make sure that my wife isn't stuck with two invalids, essentially, for any period of time. But I will still keep a dual sport in the garage because this is a bike that would allow me to either just putz down to the store real quick and grab something and have a little bit of fun doing it, or throw it on the back of my truck and go out and have fun out in the desert where there are fewer other riders and drivers, and I'm not going fast and still having fun doing it. So that's going to be sort of the ethos of today's review and ride is go out and have fun at low speeds. I actually owned a Honda Grom for a little while, and I loved that bike because you pretty much you couldn't have more fun at 30 miles per hour on that little thing. And this bike isn't quite to that extent, but it does allow you to do a lot of things you couldn't do on a Grom. And we are going to talk a little bit as well about this bike compared to its bigger brother, the KLX230. Now, I haven't ridden the dual sport version of that bike, but I have had the Supermoto around for a few months. And there are elements of the 230 that are better than the 300. For example, the gauge cluster. This one gives you a fuel gauge and a clock. No tachometer, but that's not really a huge deal. Just having the fuel gauge is great. It was very frustrating to me that the KLX300 did not have that. And then also the ABS. Some people really don't care about ABS, especially if you're planning on doing dirt riding a lot. But for me, riding on road, I like having ABS because if you're in a panic sort of situation, whether you're a new rider or an advanced one, you want to be able to grab a whole fistful of brake because that's what your monkey brain is going to do and not put the bike down as easily. So big fan of having ABS, and I'm disappointed that the 300 doesn't have that as well. The other aspect is the 300 makes its power up high. So down low, when you're at lower speeds and kind of doing more of a low speed, grunty sort of riding, this 230 motor feels just as confident as that one. And what a lot of people don't realize is you don't have to be going out and doing 90 miles per hour blasting down the highway or down curvy roads in order to go out and have fun on a motorcycle. You'd be amazed how much fun you can have just throwing a little 17 horsepower bike like this around, even in a city environment like this. Realistically, we almost always acclimate to the amount of power we have accessible to us. And if you get a 70 horsepower bike, then eventually you're going to want a 100 horsepower bike. You get a 100 horsepower bike, and then eventually you're going to get used to that. And you're going to want a 150 horsepower bike or a 200 horsepower bike. But if you start fresh with a palate cleanse and you get a 17 horsepower bike, you realize, oh, I can ride this totally differently than those big high horsepower motorcycles, and I can have a lot of fun doing it. I dare you to take a little bike like this and just go out and explore your city, explore your area, ride around, have fun, hit speed bumps, hit curbs. I mean, just go out and improve your skills and enjoy being on two wheels. You can lean the 230S way over, even though it's shorter technically. You don't really have any issue with scraping pegs. Another thing I like about the idea of having a KLX230 around is that if I want to let someone else who might not be as experienced with riding take the bike out and learn a little bit, practice, get familiar with motorcycles, this is a bike that I'm not going to be too concerned about them dropping it or scuffing something or breaking a piece of plastic. It's going to be so easy and affordable to find replacement parts for this bike. And you know, hey, maybe they mess up some plastics. I'm like, all right, well, I wanted to switch to green anyway, so I'll do that. Now, I liked a lot about the Honda XR150L for a lot of similar reasons, but the XR150L could not do highway. I mean, I went on the highway, but it was really, really struggling. This one actually gets up to highway speeds fairly easily with my 165-pound weight. Get it going here. Unfortunately, it actually has a speed limiter at about 75 indicated, which is about 70 actual speed. But look at this. We're riding around. And yeah, this isn't a motorcycle that you're going to go out on long highway trips with, but for me, having a bike in the garage, it's nice to at least just be able to hop on the highway just for a few exits and then get down to where I need to go. Oftentimes that's much more direct than taking surface streets the whole way. So the fact that the KLX230 can at least do highway speeds is enough for me. And not only can it do them, but it can do them confidently enough that I don't feel like I'm just a sitting duck. The other issue with the XR150L is that it's carbureted, which for most people is not going to be that big of a deal, but the fact that you can get the KLX230 that goes faster and has fuel injection seems like kind of a no-brainer to me. Although the XR150L does have its reasons as well, and if you're someone essentially looking for a Grom you can take off-road, that's about what that bike is for. It's lighter and quite a bit cheaper than this. I shouldn't ignore the cost difference. But for me, you're still getting, your money's worth out of paying extra to get the KLX. One thing that does appeal to me about the S version, the shorter version of the 230, even though I'm not a particularly short person, is that I can ride it more casually, both on-road and off. I'm not stretching to put a leg down as I was on something like the CRF 300L. It's just very casual, whether I'm at a stoplight or I'm off-roading. I can kind of walk the motorcycle, and it's easy. Now, personally, I would rather have the suspension travel for some of those bigger off-road bumps, but it's not a difficult bike to ride off-road, and it's not punishing either. I should mention that they do have changes for the 2025 model that add a few meaningful improvements, if not necessary sort of improvements. So if you want to pay a little extra, get yourself a fresher one. You are going to get a revised seating position, a revised chassis. I don't think anything with the motor changes. I'll just do a quick list right here of the improvements. I want to get one of these with for 2025 and kind of see what the differences are like after having this one for a few months, but I can't imagine it's going to be greatly different. In fact, I would try to find one of these, a 23, on a dealer lot and just try to see how low I could get them. See if they'll get me to walk out of the dealer with at $4,000 or something like that, because it's an awesome bike for that money. For me, the KLX230 is what motorcycling should be about. It should be about getting out and having a different experience than you get with a car. For a lot of people in the world, yeah, that's totally different. This could be a primary means of transportation. It could be totally recreational. But this allows me to have the most fun for the littlest amount of money in the most different environments. So I've been really happy with the KLX230. And if you're a shorter person, this S model might just be the ticket. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the KLX, check the link below. We've got reviews of the full dedicated off-road version as well. And I'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, ride on.